This week, MCHS debates a new way to remember loved ones.
MCHS Student Media dives into a new upcoming softball field.
McHenry celebrates another year of trunk or treats at the outdoor movie theater.
We look into what makes one of our amazing English teachers so epic.
And all of that and more
on the Warrior Weekly. Good morning, Warriors, and welcome back to this year's 7th edition of the Warrior Weekly. Presented by Warrior Student Media, I'm Cameron Mitchell.
And I'm Allie Casey. This week we highlight the Remembrance Tree, softball field, trunk or treat, and Miss Kirby.
But first, Warrior Student Media covers the story on what the Remembrance Tree truly is.
MCHS's Grief and Loss group has planted a tree to honor loved ones who have passed. Counselor Carla Flores talks more about how the group is led and whose idea it was for the Remembrance Tree.
I'd say it's a pretty student-led group. The students were the ones who came up with the idea of the Remembrance Tree and have, taken on a lot of the efforts to get it planted and the ribbons and all the cards that come with it. Me and Mr. Myers more so just help them with the logistics side of things, like who to communicate with and when we need to get other staff involved.
Ms. Flores explains how last year's activities with processing grief and hearing from others inspired the idea for the Remembrance Tree.
Last school year, we had been meeting and doing different activities with like processing grief and just kind of hearing from others' experiences on what they've experienced in their own losses in their life. So then probably around the 5th or 6th meeting is when we talked about doing something that was going to have an impact after our group stops meeting or students graduate and all that. So it kind of just came up amongst the students and the impact they wanted to make.
Counselor Gary Myers explains what else will be added to the Remembrance Tree.
Mr. Roman has been in contact with us, and with his Woods Tours construction ed class, they want to design a bench where if anybody wants to go out and just sit, it's a place for them to go if they want to reflect during the time where maybe a family member or person they know has passed.
Counselor Gary Myers explains where the funding for the Remembrance Tree came from.
So the tree was pitched to Dr. McTagg, and Dr. McTagg, out of his budget, he agreed to plant the tree and purchase the tree for us because he saw the value that this could have for our students.
If you would like to add a note to the Remembrance Tree, please contact Ms. Flores or Mr. Myers. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly, we are Tate Bartleson, Jacob Guzman, Quinn Fitzgerald, and Yahel Garcia.
Next, we take a peek at what is happening with the new softball field right outside of MCHS.
This year, MCHS is debuting their new softball field. Head coach, math teacher, varsity softball alumni, Ms. Michaela Mitch explains how this personally affects her.
It's kind of cool to be a part of the history of our sport at the school that I graduated from, and also being able to be a part of the history of creating something new for this new generation of athletes, specifically for softball. It's cool to be able to lay the foundation of something huge for our community and for our school.
Senior Rylan Gottstein explains how the new field will affect the team.
I'm really excited because I think it's a fresh start for our team, and having a brand new field is going to bring a lot of excitement to the program.
Coach Mitch elaborates further on the impact it'll have on the community.
I have plans to have tournaments for the community teams to come in and watch us play. In the past, we've had McHenry Pigtail League come out and watch our games and come out onto the field and meet the players. And so now this is just going to be a new home for that to happen.
She explains how she wants the current athletes and future Warrior athletes to feel as they play on the field.
And softball players, we don't get to go to the MLB. We don't get a career in this. So those seniors that are graduating this year, they only have 4 more years left of softball to play. Some seniors will leave here and not play softball ever again. So we're creating that stage that is as close as we're going to get to feel like we're playing for the majors, right? I think the field kind of makes that a little bit more special. And so if we're able to use that, then our community can use it too. The younger kids that are just starting to learn how much more special is that to learn it up. It's going to be huge for them, I think.
As we slide our way out this week, we can't help but wait to see all the wins we will see in the future. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly, I'm Bree Duran, Haley Downing, and Daniel Avila.
Next, McHenry Outdoor Movie Theater continues the traditional trunk or treat.
The McHenry Outdoor Theater, also known as Golden Age Cinemas, hosts their annual trunk or treat event around Halloween. Owner Scott Dean explains what the trunk or treat is.
The trunk or treat event is something that that we wanted to do that was kind of outside of the just seeing movies on a regular weekend. What I try to do here is kind of expand on what we do and make it more of a all-inclusive, family-friendly destination that goes beyond just showing movies on a regular basis.
The trunk or treat event has been around for quite a while. Dean shares more about the history of the event.
So I started trunk or treat, I would say about 10 years ago, and we continued it every year until obviously COVID. We didn't have it. The year after COVID, I tried to do it again, and it did not have the turnout that we had had years prior before the pandemic. So I partnered with Dawn Bremer, who together, Dawn and I, myself alone, I can't bring in the vendors that I was hoping for, but combined, we were able to bring in 80. As opposed to, I think in 2021, I had 3 vendors. So it's a jump. It's a jump. But there's power in numbers, and I think teaming up with other businesses helps facilitate a larger vendor crowd.
Employee Lucas Saleme explains the process that the outdoor theater does to set up for this event.
I feel like this is a great thing with the community. I feel like I get to connect with this, be a part of it. Seeing all the people having so much fun. And it's a joy to be able to work here and be able to do this. So we had to mark each stall with a number so the vendors could set up their trunk or treat areas. And then we had to worry about them all getting in through our exit. And then once that was all finished, we had the community come in and enjoy the candy.
Be on the lookout for more fun events at the outdoor theater. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly were Travis Kokinos, Kevin Hibbs, and Angela Hernandez.
Finally, students look into how Miss Kirby's impact affects her students and what makes her so different from others.
MCHS has a number of staff that embed themselves into the very culture of our school. A prime example of that would be Mrs. Kirby, a great English teacher as well as leads a variety of clubs. Being authentically herself helps her connect to her students.
I try to be very authentically myself as much as possible. We start every day with the daily brainstorm questions. Some teachers call it the Ignite. For me, this is a question that may or may not be related to the learning of the day, but is an opportunity for me to ask students questions that maybe a teacher might not typically ask of their students. This is a thing that I could share about myself with students, but also something that maybe I would not learn about them in the traditional classroom environment, and I think it brings us all together. I am more than authentically myself in my clubs. We spend so much time mainly talking about our hobbies and our interests across all of these clubs.
With Kirby being her authentic self, Senior Evan Jacobs talks about Kirby's teaching style.
It's a little more unorthodox compared to a lot of other teachers. She works really, really hard to keep students engaged and makes it fair for deadlines. We're not crushed by any work. There really isn't another class in the school like the way she teaches her classes.
With Kirby's unusual teaching, this allows her to form bonds with her students.
Hide any portion of myself because I'm a teacher and I'm at work, but trying to use it to my advantage and to show students what it maybe means to be an adult.
Senior Evan Jacobs also mentions how Mrs. Kirby runs her classroom.
To me, the way I feel like she does things is she befriends the students. I have her as well as one of my club advisors as well, and she's the same there. She's really, really friendly with pretty much everyone. If you want anything answered, you can just go to her and she'll give you an answer, and she's very willing to work with just about any issue or any problem.
There isn't another teacher quite like Mrs. Kirby at MCHS with her unique teaching style and friendly personality. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly, we are Christine Duckworth, William Deneke, Ryan Tedman, and Elliot Raymond.
If you're interested in any of our journalism classes, be sure to talk to your counselors about signing up for the spring semester, or be sure to email Mr. Albert to join our amazing broadcast class.
That's all for today's show. Be sure to follow the Warrior Weekly on all social media platforms, including X, Insta, and TikTok.
For Allie Casey and all of Warrior Student Media, I'm Cameron Mitchell. Have a wonderful week, Warriors.